Novo lit that shit bang.
Welcome back to Crows of Judgment, and today we're going to be talking about Ivory Rasmus's response. It was uploaded roughly 3 hours ago onto Twitter in regards to the Pyrocynical video that came out. And before we begin, please do not contact Ivory. Do not bully him. Do not say anything like, you took an L. It's not worth it. You're not proving any sort of point here, right? All you're doing is giving ammunition to someone like Keemstar to go after Pyrocynical again and paint this person as a legitimate victim, which I'll be 100%, I do not believe he is. But we can at least address the arguments, address what he is actually saying without needing to be a snarky bitch. And I can be a snarky bitch, so I understand the temptation, but just don't do it. I've been silently watching responses because it's genuinely astounding how many people magically changed to saying, Pyro's 100% guilty, I'm sorry, Ivory, when Tom's doc was posted, and just initially flipped back. Being educated on something isn't having the most popular opinion, y'all. To be clear, when Ivory first uploaded his accusation of grooming, which is very important here, not too many people thought what Ivory was saying was good. They did not side with him, and is what it is as far as that goes. It was only after Turkey Tom's document came out where people started to believe that Ivory was legitimately abused in some sort of way. That is not an indictment against all these people watching the situation and flip-flopping their opinions. It's Turkey Tom's document was bad. It was framed terribly, and it did convince a lot of people that Pyrocynical was some sort of groomer or some sort of pedo. And I know that Turkey Tom's response to this is that, at the very, very bottom, he says he cannot make a definitive claim on grooming. He did start the document off by saying that he had proven Pyrocynical's guilt of an accusation of grooming. But whatever, say I took the L when Pyro admitted he thought it was okay to talk sexually with a 16-year-old at 20. Say the reply was all good because he faced the allegations head on when he literally lied to undercut them and tried downplaying the entire time by saying it's just RP. It was just RP. It was sexual RP, though. All right? Just be as clear as we can. I've already said, for me, being 30, 4-year age gap, I'm sorry, you're still within the same age range. And where Pyrocynical lives, that is a legal thing. Now, if you want to take issues with the law, over here in the United States, we have several laws. We have several states where the law is 16 being the age of consent. And then beyond that, we also have things like Romeo and Juliet laws, which specifically protect relationships with a 4-year age gap and someone who isn't even at the age of consent. So I take no issues with that. Some people do. It's an argument of morality, but yeah, he did own up to saying that he knew that Ivory was 16. That's actually something that I said was a little disingenuous in his initial response on Reddit, where he says, I never knew he was 15. The only time was when he was 16, but he never actually owned up to knowing. In his video response, he did, so good for him. But yeah, I don't know what this is supposed to be. Now, the whole, say I took the L when Pyro admitted, you don't need to respond to Ivory like that. Because, again, it is just going to be used against you, get used against Pyrocynical, and give ammunition to a lot of commentary channels that are still desperately wanting to drag this guy. Like Dambro saying, I bet your cock is so hard from imagining that, has no IRL connotations. Y'all are saying the RP wasn't that bad. He literally admitted to coming to our conversations, was talking about my dick while doing so. Again, 16, 20, age of consent. But as far as like this post that you decided to link, yeah, it's deeply fucking disturbing, the nature of your roleplay. But it's still roleplay, right? And you yourself, Ivory, went on to say that there was never any attempt for anything IRL. And when you even mentioned that there was this potential meetup, you also stated that he never indicated anything sexual, and other people have gone on the record to say that, yeah, it was a meetup with a bunch of different people, nothing sexual. So for you to then turn around and say this, it still had IRL. Yeah, you're clearly flip-flopping here on what you're claiming. Is that disgusting? Yeah, but it's mostly like the actual RP itself is fucking disgusting. He's talking about farting and squelching and fuck. It's so funny, too, because y'all will use arguments based off legality like AOC to justify Niall's actions, yet completely ignore that sending prawn to someone under 18 is illegal, and he admitted to knowingly doing that for years. Now, I've already said that 16 is age of consent where Ivory lives. It's also 16 where Pyrocynical lives. And Niall is Pyrocynical for those who are unaware, because I wasn't at first. I had no clue what they were talking about, who Niall was. But 16 is age of consent across the board in the UK, right? For any sort of sexual conversation. In the United States, 16 is age of consent to have a physical relationship where Ivory lives. But federal law prevents the spread of pornographic images to someone who is under the age of 18. There is more nuance in our law than there is in the UK law. But yeah, I would expect somebody to follow the laws in their country, because if he is not, then you're proving predatory behavior, which again, when Ivory's accusation is of grooming, that becomes highly fucking relevant. To dismiss it all and say, well, the federal statute, I get it. I just don't expect anybody to obey the laws of a country that they are not in, right? Otherwise, we're all in fucking trouble for fucking blasphemy laws and fucking around. But yeah, I kind of feel like that's pretty weak. But the best part about this is his friends publicly implying the allegations are false when half of y'all were in a call with him and one of his victims years ago and told him to never do it again, LMAO. Playing your audiences like a fiddle, all while enabling his actions. So far, I've seen multiple people call out Pyrocynical, including people that he's been on good terms with. But they said, like, this clearly isn't pedo shit. This clearly isn't grooming shit, which were Ivory's initial claims. They said that they took issues with him not going through the process of verifying age. He's owned up to that. And I've already said, if you're meeting in adult settings like NSFW 18 and up chats, you're engaged in erotic roleplay with other people, and you're talking about your sexual encounters with others, most people would assume that you're over the age of consent. And again, by the time that he actually knew 100% you were 16, you told him you were 16, and that is the age of consent for Pyrocynical. So it is a relevant argument. But if you want to talk about legality, I find it highly fucking immoral for you to have made grooming accusations over content that you were perfectly fine engaging with other individuals with. And the fact that you were rightfully called out for it and then quintupled down to say you didn't actually care about the definition of grooming, I take massive amounts of issues with. But, again, do not send Ivory any sort of hate here. I'm going to say how I feel about it, though. And y'all act like nothing to stand for but clout. If I were clout chasing, then why wouldn't I just talk to the 4 million YouTuber I have in my DMs? How would saying Pyro RP'd with me when I was a kid give me any clout? I'm ashamed of it. I would never want this as a claim to fame. Yes, unfortunately, the accusations of clout chasing are relevant here because we've seen other false allegations come out against somebody, and your grooming allegation was false. But we've seen other false allegations come out with the intent of destroying people or building up a brand for others. So, yeah, there are some similarities with your case, but the biggest one would be that your SoundCloud, you had just dropped content on it roughly within about a week or 2 weeks time frame from when you made these accusations, and I was looking at your Twitter account at the time, and that was your pinned tweet, not the accusations against Pyrocynical. Now, as far as like gaining clout off of Pyro, maybe he just doesn't like your fucking music and wasn't willing to give you the clout. But this is a relevant topic. Now, does that dismiss the claims that Ivory made outright? I've said on several occasions, it absolutely does not. But it is still relevant to this conversation. But take the L, Ivory. Get game ended. Bro, the only L I have to take is that Pyro still hasn't apologized without lying in the same breath. Full stop. I read through his initial response on Reddit, and I explained why he did not lie, and that Turkey Tom accusing him of being a liar there was very disingenuous. I said that there's like a couple of points I think in there you could say are disingenuous, but in his video response, he also addressed those and clarified. So he has not, as of right now, lied or been proven to be a liar. So for you to make those claims, again, it's just like you making the claims of him being a groomer. He sprinkled half-truths in his video and then lied about knowing my age. He didn't. He owned up to knowing that you were 16. You've said that in your own response. If you have proof that he knew you were 15 at the time, bring it forward. Bring it forward, because as of right now, it seems like the only thing out there is one tweet in which he would have had access to, right? But we can't ever prove he actually saw, and it's a little absurd to think that he would have seen one tweet. And Ida, who I'm willing to just say was more than likely a good friend. Other people have told me that they were not that good of friends back when this was going on. But you're trusting that an amoral person who took no issues with a 15-year-old engaging sexually with someone that they knew to then do the moral decision of informing that friend over something that they didn't think was a big deal. If that's all you have, I mean, I'm sorry, but you do need more. That's why a lot of people have walked back those claims of it being like 100% certain, it's been proven, and saying like, I still think, but it can't be definitively stated. And even then I say like, you really don't have an abundance of evidence to actually even show that. But yeah, no, he has owned up to knowing he was 16. And I've always said I thought he knew he was 16. But I think I'm done with this. I literally tried whistleblowing systemic protection of a predator and their kid audiences. Dumb fuck YouTube friends and everyone in between are still being manipulated by them. That is a terrible way of treating this entire thing. Look, this is more towards Ivory. It's not me trying to be insulting. But when Pyrocynical put out his response on Reddit, I know there are some things that can be taken as attacks against Ivory's character. But when he did the video response, he was respectful to Ivory. Ivory lashing out against Pyrocynical and anyone defending Pyrocynical, that's a bad look, right? That doesn't prove anything. I'm just saying it's a very bad look. And he's probably going to get a lot of hate for this response because of that. I'm urging my audience not to bully him. But again, I remind you, Ivory's accusations were of grooming, and he has infinity tupled down on Pyrocynical being a groomer, even though he was engaged in the exact same content with other people without Pyrocynical's knowledge, some of which going on before Pyrocynical and him ever engaged. Now, when we talk about grooming, I've mentioned the Chris Thurman situation. We had a whole live stream about Chris Thurman. I uploaded a clip about Chris Thurman as well. But Funimation voice actor Chris Thurman has admitted to DMing a picture of his genitalia to a 15-year-old girl and pretending it was an accident. Now, the thing this doesn't include in there is that after doing that, he continued to try to engage with 15-year-old, get her to talk about what his dick was like, if it was big, all this shit, really disgusting and disturbing stuff, and trying to get her to send him nudes and continue talking to him. That is actual grooming. That is what grooming looks like. Not, I'm sorry, but not this shit, right? This is just disgusting. It's nasty. It makes me kind of sick, like, to read it. But Ivory, if your initial claim was that Pyrocynical is irresponsible with his audience, and I would have said, well, yeah, okay. I mean, that's an actual claim. It's not something you can really disprove, but you made the claim of grooming. You made the claim of grooming. You got people calling this guy a fucking pedophile. Like, he's clearly a fat fucking furry boarkin, or whatever terminology you want to use for that, and has no sexual predilections towards children. And more to the point, this is stuff that took place in 2017. I would hope that, if we're going to really dive in on that there would be something else that's more relevant to today, because, he's 23 now, and if he was still engaging with 16-year-olds, even if it's age of consent, I'd say morally that's wrong. But you're never going to get me to, have this moral fucking standpoint on 4 years just being too much. I can't. We literally have those protections under law in this country in various states, and it's legal where he lives, and you're talking about a 4-year fucking age gap. Maybe at 30, I just don't see that much of a difference between people who are 4 years of age apart from each other, especially when we're talking about age consent. But my reaction to this is that Ivory handled his initial claims against Pyrocynical terribly. It was done in just an awful fucking manner. His interview with Tommy C, the first time, was just garbage. He was clearly unprepared to actually be asked any questions about this. The second time, Tommy C tried to like hold his hands through everything, and it just came across as very fake and plastic to me. That's my opinion. And now this, I'm sorry, but like I cannot see Ivory as a victim here. I think what Pyrocynical did with Ivory is obviously questionable. I think that it's creepy to me. And I think the nature of the role play is something that it makes me want to physically throw up, right? But him being a groomer, him being a pedo, him abusing his audience, him, like, that has never once been proven throughout all of this. If your response is like, people flipped from saying he was guilty after reading Turkey Tom's document, yeah, because Turkey Tom really tried to paint a narrative with that Google Doc, ignored a bunch of evidence, and misframed things in just a really creepy kind of way. So it's pretty easy for people to just assume Pyrocynical was guilty of these things because of that Google Doc, not really because of anything that Ivory was accusing him of or anything that Ivory had actually shown. But that's my response on this. I'm sure we're going to have a difference of opinion with a lot of different people, but this is a terrible fucking response to this whole thing. I think that he should have left out the attacks on people because it's just going to earn him a bunch of backlash too. But I urge everybody watching this video and everyone who's watching any of my other videos just to not engage with this. I've said my piece on it. If you've got a platform and you want to talk about it, do that, but don't tag him. Don't quote tweet him. I already see that people are doing that, and I'll be honest with you. I would imagine that not all this stuff is positive.
Let that shit bang.